Hey guys, it's Andy. She blinded me with refractors, and I'm going to attempt to give my recap of the 2021 National Sports Card Convention. So, let me start with a little backstory. So, this was my 10th national, and prior to 2019 national, um, I would basically go to the national really just to buy cards, right? I didn't really know a lot of people, I guess, in the community, and for me, it was just a card show. It was a card show you would go to buy cards, right? And in 2019, that's when things really changed for me. I had I had met a few people at the 2018 national. That was a little, it happened a little while after I'd started my YouTube channel. So I'd met a few people, and that was cool. But 2019 was a totally different experience for me in a lot of different ways. Um, I'm not like, I'm not trying to be like a super emotional guy here. I'm usually not a super emotional guy. So I'll tell this story, and then we'll kind of get on to some of the things here we want to talk about. So prior to the 2019 national, um, my dad had passed away, and I'd really, prior to the national, I'd made a lot of friends on YouTube. And a lot of these guys, I talked to them a lot about a lot of different things, not just card related, but life related. And the 2019 National was going to be the first, opportunity that I really had to meet a lot of these guys in person. A few of them I had already met in person, but for the most part, most of these guys, 2019 was it. And what a great experience that was, right? So the 2019 National, I met so many people, in person for the first time. I just have so many new friends in the hobby at this point. So heading into this year's national, um, one of the things that was going through my mind is, can we recreate that same magic that we had in 2019? Because I think that was, for a lot of people, especially myself, that was really the first time that a lot of us had really met each other in person, and it was phenomenal. Like, so could we top that this time, or even come close to it, right? We did. Not only did we come close to it, in my opinion, we topped it. So I want to spend a lot of time here talking about, the people, and this will be a longer video. And, you know, some people like longer videos, some people not so much. So I'll show a few things at the end. Uh, I can't really say a lot of purchases for me, and there's some stories to that. But I do have a few things I'll show at the end, and I'll also share some of the purchase slash non-purchase stories that happened at this show. But let's get into the people a little bit. So the first guy I want to talk about is Mike, baseball collector. Um, Great friend of mine. I think anybody that truly knows Mike knows what type of person he is. So this is how the national experience started for me, right? So Mike and I were going to travel together. So I was going to drive to his house, and we would fly out the next morning. We had a flight at 11 a.m. the next morning. I'm about 4 hours away, so we decided that I would, come stay the night with him. That way I didn't have to, get up at like 4 or 5 in the morning to drive there. So the night that I get there, and Mike had already told me this prior to me coming, and he invited me to this So what was happening that night was his daughter Jessica was having her 20th birthday party. So right away, I'm invited to a family event of one of my best friends, not only in the hobby but just best friends period. So that's pretty incredible, right? To be invited to one of your friends' 20th birthday party. And I can't say enough about um, Mike and his family, because during the time that I was there, both prior to us leaving for the show, and then when Mike's wife Julie came and picked us up at the airport on the way home, they just, everybody, like Mike, Julie, Mike's son Palmer, his daughter Jessica, even Julie's nephew Jay was there. And then, of course, I got to meet Mike's parents, Mike's sister, her husband, Jessica's boyfriend, his family. So everybody there, they made me feel like I was a part of the family, which was, that's huge, right? Like, what a good way to start. So once we get to the show, um, Mike, JT, and Mike Canadian Cards and we room together. Um, so that was just a totally wild and fun experience in itself. And before we get too far into like all these guys, like there was a couple of guys, and I'll go through a list of some others here a little bit later that I wish would have been able to make the trip, but didn't get to make it this year for whatever reason. But two guys right off the bat that I really wish could have been there is Garrett Card Cutter, and then my good buddy Michael, who's Double X the Beast on YouTube. Michael and I have went to the show. I think out of the 10 times I've been, like he and I probably went together. I don't know, maybe six of those times, 6 or 7 of those times. So I wish he could have been there, and I wish Garrett could have been there because, there's we all have friends in this hobby, and we have a really tight group that talks on StreamYard, basically weekly. Sometimes we'll get into it where we may even do it 2 or 3 times in a week, and we talk about various things, not just cards but everything. And Garrett's one of the guys that's in that group, and I mean, we did some calls with Garrett while we were there, but it wasn't the same, obviously, and we wish he could have been there. So definitely looking forward to having him at the next one. Now let's get back to the people that were there. So JT, Triple Crown 24, you guys know who he is. Great dude, right? So had so much fun just hanging out with him and getting to know him better. He's for his age, he's got to be the most mature guy in the hobby for his age. I mean, he's probably the most mature out of our group, and he's by far the youngest. I mean, a lot of us are old enough to be his dad, and he's the mature, he's the adult in the room. Let's just be real about it. But yeah, just such a great time. And JT made me a custom card, which I'll show off here in a little while once I flip the camera around. But just a great time hanging out with JT, getting to know him better. Mike Canadian Cards, one of the other guys that stayed with us. Man, first off, what a funny guy he is. Just a pleasure to be around. But I mean, he had a lot of issues, not only getting here, but then also getting back home. Which, if you watch his videos, he does a great job telling that story. But the sacrifice that he made physically to come to this show was pretty big. He has a really bad hip, and I know eventually he's talked about it. He'll probably have to get a hip replacement. So just the physical struggle on a day-to-day basis at this show. I mean, because just imagine how bad all of us hurt each day after the show, and go ahead and throw in a bad hip to that equation, and but that tells a lot about Mike. Just think about that for a minute. That's how bad he wanted to be there. So kudos to you, my friend. It was a great time. There's lots of stories that we probably won't tell that from from our experiences uh, hanging out at the show, but it was a great time, dude. Next up, we have the Oracle, Eric. Those back pages. He's another one of those guys that everybody knows him, everybody likes him. Just a pleasure to be around. One of the truly great ambassadors of the hobby, if you will. He's a great guy to go to for advice, not only about cards, but just anything in life. I mean, he just has a lot of wisdom, and a lot of people look to him for answers, and he does a great job delivering. And he and I had some great times walking the show, talking about different things. There's some really cool stuff that happened for him at this show, and I'm sure he'll talk about that in his videos. But I mean, what else can you say about Eric? I mean, just a great guy. I mean, and that's going to be a running theme in this, is just so many great people. The next two people on this list, Dave Blue Jacket 66 and his son Caden. Man, like over the last couple of years, I mean, I've become really good friends with Dave and Caden. I met both of them at the 2019 National. We've stayed in touch since then. Caden's really, grown into a young adult at this point. So it's been great to see, his growth, and man, we had a blast. Like, Dave totally surprised me at this show with just an amazing gift, and I'll show that a little bit later, but just completely caught me off guard, which I don't know why I was so surprised, because Dave is definitely one of the most generous people in this hobby, and he gets such a kick out of making other people's day, making them happy. And I mean, he totally did it with not only this gift, but just the company, and being able to walk the show for a while with him and Caden. That was definitely one of the highlights. They also took a group of us out to Gibson's. I mean, these are just the type of things that they make the show for me. Like, I don't know. I mean, of course, it's fun to look at cards and buy cards, but these are the type of things that just really, really make the trip for me, and so many others too. Next up, my good buddy Josh, Rated Rookie. Josh is another great friend of mine. Like, he and I talk on the phone pretty regularly, I would say. We like to bounce ideas off of each other. We like a lot of the same players and same types of cards. So I like to pick his brain on certain things, and he likes to pick my brain. Just a great guy, man. Like, he's one of those guys that there's a lot of controversial, I guess, people in this hobby to some people, but Josh is definitely, I've never heard anyone even mention a negative thing about him as a collector or a person. So it was a lot of fun, Josh. Um, Looking forward to it again, man. Next up is another guy that, I mean, we communicate quite often, throughout the year, not just around national time, and that's Scotty Tradition. Excuse me. Um, Scott and I had a chance to walk the floor. We probably walked the floor together for a couple of hours. I want to say I don't know if it was Thursday or Friday. I've slept since then, but we had a great time, man. Um, so Scott's a big Packers guy, and he was telling me this great story about. He's like, hey, we had this get together with a bunch of Packers registry collectors, and he said there was a guy from Oklahoma there. So I was like, oh, okay, who was it? Maybe I know him. I mean, maybe not, but maybe I do. And he told me it was Mick Cornett, and I was like, yeah, he used to be the mayor of Oklahoma City. So that was fun. So we had a lot of fun, talking about that, and I mean, it was just great. It's great to walk the floor with people that, because Scott and I, we collect some of the same stuff, but there's other things that he's really into and other things I'm really into. But it was great just to walk the floor with somebody that has a different collecting focus at times. Like he was pointing out a lot of stuff to me that was like super cool stuff that I didn't really know about. So I was sitting there just kind of soaking it in, and we both have a pretty dry sense of humor. We're both big Seinfeld fans, so we were cracking a lot of jokes on the floor and just having a good time. Another guy that I got to talk to quite a bit at one of the after hour events was Nolan Elite Co 3. Um, Man, that's a lot of fun to talk to him because you want to talk about a guy that has a lot of experience in the hobby and has not only great knowledge but some great stories, and he's a funny guy. He's a good storyteller. Um, so we had a lot of fun just sitting there, talking about the hobby and stuff. And I mean, his anybody that's seen his channel, his collection's insane, and he's one of the first guys that I started watching on YouTube. And I think I've told that story before, but yeah, I've always enjoyed his content because he just keeps it real. I mean, you'll see in his grading submissions if he gets a card back and it got a 10, but he thinks it shouldn't have got a 10, he'll tell you. I mean, he's just a good guy, man. He just keeps it real. Next up, Filmington. Got to spend some time talking to Phil. Um, he keeps me up to date on baseball. A lot of the newer guys. He has a ton of knowledge in that area. Um, Another great thing about Phil, he likes to crack jokes. So he likes to have a good time. I know there was one point in the show we had it was Phil, Mark, Stove Sports, Wesker Griff, and we had kind of met up and just started talking. And at this point, the show was just so crowded. So, we got this great idea. Hey, there's a guy selling beer off in the corner over there. Let's go over there. And then we got there and we decided that the mixed drinks, that seemed like a good bargain. So, I guess that's the way card collectors, we're always looking for a good deal. So we thought that the Jack and Coke seemed like a better deal than a $10 beer. So we went with that. We just kind of kicked back, kind of just people watched for a little while. It was a lot of fun. Um, Next up, Andrew, Nuff Said Cards. Man, uh, you know, he is the pre-war guy in our community as far as, not only just his collection, but knowledge. Um, So, you know, I had some pretty I had some pretty wild ideas at times throughout the show about different cards that I possibly wanted to go after. Maybe not at this show, but at some point. And you know, one of them's a Babe Ruth card. So I really I had a great time talking to Andrew and Dave Blue Jacket about that, and you know they kind of shared some of their knowledge and thoughts on the particular card that I was thinking about, and I could tell they both got really excited because they were like, "Whoa, wait, you're interested in this card?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm interested in this card." So uh, I think I saw a little twinkle in both of their eyes whenever I brought a Babe Ruth card up. So that was a ton of fun, and you'll see the footage in one of Mike Baseball Collector's videos. But Andrew was with Mike and I whenever one of my almost big deals went down. So yeah, Andrew's he's a great dude. I mean, just super laid back. One of the nicest guys I've ever met. Like, I mean, he's another one of those guys. Like, I've never heard anybody say a negative word about him, and I wouldn't expect to ever hear one either. So that was I had a lot of fun just talking with you, Andrew, and just hanging out. Next is a couple of it's one of my favorite duos for sure, and that's Mike and Luke up North Collectors. I had a great time at the 2019 National. You know, we broke some product together, got to hang out some, and this one we didn't get to break any product. I think I think between the three of us, we kind of agreed that a lot of the product was a little bit too expensive for our taste at this show and at this time. So yeah, we passed on that, but we did hang out quite a bit, just walking around the show. I know at one point, um, Mike and I walked around for a little while, and then Luke and one of his buddies met up with us, and it's great because Luke, um, a lot like I talked about Caden earlier, like Luke's he's really grown up a lot. I think he's going to be a senior next year, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and he made some big pickups and sales throughout the show, and it's nice to see that because I mean Luke's a great kid. I mean he's really a man at this point. I call him a kid because he was a kid when I met him, I guess, but it's great to see that, and it's not. I mean, just he's picked up a ton of knowledge over the years. Like you can tell that he really pays attention, and so yeah, he made some great buys and was able to make a few sales, and he's got a nice little thing going there, and it's like I said, it's not surprising. Such a great family, so yeah, that was a lot of fun to see his growth in the hobby, and obviously Mike still guiding him along the way. um, I know it's fun to see because like I can see sometimes maybe Mike is maybe questioning one of the buys or something that Luke is going to make, but he trusts him, and he's letting him do his thing. So, and that's how you learn, and that's how you learn is just through experiencing these things. And like I said, Luke knows what he's doing, so keep doing it, man. Next is Brian B. Roth 6. Another great highlight of the show for me was just seeing how excited Brian was. He came up to me and he's like, "Dude, I got to show you something." I was like, "Well, let's see it, man." And he had bought a LeBron James 2008, or no, it was Kobe Bryant. Sorry, Kobe Bryant with LeBron James on it. 2008 Topps Chrome refractor and a base. He had picked those up a while back, and I'm sure if you watch his videos, I mean, if you want to know like what he paid and all that stuff, he might tell you, but I'm not gonna tell you. But he picked those up raw, and he'd gotten the refractor back, and he got a PSA 10. So obviously that's great, right? That's a great card. So he was excited to tell me about it, and I think I might have been more excited to see it. I was just excited for him. You always want to see your friends in the hobby do good, and Brian, over the last, I don't know, maybe over a year now, he's been buying and selling cards, for a living. So you always want to see your friends be successful. Like, I really enjoy, seeing Brian and JT, guys like that in our community that do this for a living. You always want to see them be successful. So that was great to see. And we had a lot of great conversations about a lot of different things, but that's one of the moments that really stood out to me. Next up, the legendary Mike O. So Mike and I had a chance to chat it up a little bit at some of the after hour events. Especially, I think it was the Friday night event at Lowe's. Because I walked back with those guys, so we had a chance to talk about a lot of stuff. I know it was Mike and Ed and Dave's midlife card crisis, Pepino Man. Like, we were all staying at the same place, so we all walked back together, and we had a chance to just shoot the breeze on a lot of different things. I think we were all kind of just in awe of what was going on around us, as far as like how many people were at this. It wasn't even really like a organized after hours trade night that was going on, but it was like the size of an actual card show. So that was wild. But yeah, a lot of fun to catch up with those guys. Like I said, Ed, just a funny dude. We had a lot of good laughs, Ed and I, and Dave as well. Dave's midlife card crisis. Pepino Man. One of the hits of the show was his custom Pelican case that he made. I'm hoping that he shows that in one of his videos. I'm sure he will. That was awesome. And Pepino Man, he had some cards in there. So I was like, let me take a look. I want to see what you got in here, man. He kind of he doesn't care about the value of his cards. He's a pure collector. He does it for the love of it. But don't be fooled into thinking he doesn't have some really nice cards. He had some really nice stuff in there that, everybody in the room would be impressed with. So, yeah, he's great. All these guys are great. So these guys, the next couple of guys are, I guess, a lot of times when people talk about some of the OGs on YouTube as far as sports card content, they think of guys that may have started like 5 or 6 years ago, but these are some of the true OGs, and that would be Joey Burkcat 8 and Brad 8671. These guys were around long before most of us, and they kind of laid the groundwork for this whole thing. This is the first time I got a chance to meet those guys in person, and just incredible dudes. Like, I met them at the hotel. I think they were down there with Scotty Tradition Scott, and so we got to talk a little bit. And then, of course, I ran into them a couple times throughout the show, and every time I would walk into them, we would just stop and chat it up for a little bit. And you find yourself doing that, or at least I do. Like, no matter what I'm looking for at the time at the show, like when I find somebody that I know, I just want to stop and talk to them, no matter if I've done it 5 times already or what. It's like, you just want to keep track of what everybody's doing. And Brad actually, he and I ran into each other at one point in the show, and I had mentioned a particular card, just in a conversation amongst all of us that I was looking for, and I guess Brad, he had heard that I was looking for it, so he's like, "Hey, man, that card you were looking for, I saw it over here at this booth," and I was like, "Oh, okay, which one?" So he told me, and as I was about to start heading that way, he's like, "I'll tell you what, I'll just walk over there with you. I'll walk you over there to it, make sure you find it." So that's the kind of stuff that happens at these shows, man. Like, not only did he not have to stop me and tell me that he saw this card over there, but he certainly didn't have to, take time away from what he was doing to walk me over there and make sure that I found it. And then it was a funny story because the card that we were looking for, we got there, and at first they couldn't find it, and then after about 15 or 20 minutes, Brad and I are just sitting there, we're just kind of like laughing, just having a good time, like what's going on here? They can't find it or whatever. And after about 15 or 20 minutes, they finally came back to us and said they had sold it, like half an hour earlier or something. So that was a fun story, but I definitely appreciated Brad, taking the time out to go over there with me and make sure I found it. I just found him and Joey to be just great dudes, and not surprising, right? Stove, he for the YouTube get together that night, he brought back the jump trunk, so he and I were able to strike up a trade. I traded him a card, and he gave me a jump trunk. So had a lot of fun opening that, and just a lot of fun talking to Mark. He's great. I think as far as this show goes, I think he kind of has the same mindset that I do. Like, I mean, of course he wants to buy something, but I don't think it bothers him to go home without anything, kind of like me. We're just there to have a good time. Next up, Jeremy IPTTM. First time that I was able to meet Jeremy in person. Along with JT, I think, well, let's say along with JT and maybe like Ryan Card Collector too. I think Jeremy's right up there with those guys as far as just the absolute best at finding like hidden treasures, whether it be in the value boxes or just something that maybe most people don't know about. They don't even know what it is, and he's able to find these great values and hidden treasures where most people wouldn't even know what they were looking at. Very just a very genuine guy. He's in Texas as well. I thought I was going to be able to meet him at a Dallas card show like a couple months ago, but we just weren't there on the same day. So definitely glad that I got to meet him. Brandon's baseball cards. I got to meet Brandon. Just a great guy. What you see is what you get. He always has a smile on his face, always upbeat. You could tell he was happy to be there. I think he came with his brother, and first time I think he'd been to a national, and like everybody else that was there for the first time, I mean, he just fit right in. That's the way it happens. Like, whether you've been there or not, it's like you just show up and you just fit right in. Everybody just makes you feel at home. Sorry, I'm getting my throat. I can't even hardly talk after. Sorry, I had to pause it there for a second, guys. I'm like losing my voice from like talking so much at the show. Like I was talking to Mike about that yesterday. We were both like could barely even speak. I think most people would probably agree that's because we talk too much, but you know, we do it anyway. So where was I here? Brandon, yeah, Brandon's baseball cards, cool dude. He fit right in with everybody. You know, it's just like he'd been there all along, right? Next up, Dustin and Blake. I don't. You know, it's weird. I don't think I ever actually got to meet Blake, but I did get to meet Dustin, and cool dude. He was able to give me a custom card, which I'll show you guys here in a little bit. Cardi C, great dude. I've watched his stuff, quite a bit over the years. First time to meet him, super cool dude, genuine. Just like the rest of these guys, just fit right in. And got to talk to him quite a bit at the after hours party on Friday. The next two guys, I didn't really get to talk to these guys much, but I did get to speak to them just very briefly. Josh from Cardboard Chronicles and Card Ladder, and Ryan, Card Collector 2. Super busy guys, obviously. You know, Ryan, you'll see him in like almost every piece of content that's being released this week about the National. And then, Josh, along with Chris and Christina, they were set up with Card Ladder, so extremely busy. Got to say hi to them. Wish I could have talked to them more, but I understand they're busy, and next time. I did get to speak a little bit to Ryan's partners on Card Talk, which is Tyler and Lou. Really had a good chat with Lou about UFC cards. I showed him some of the things I had, and he was very interested and engaging as far as the conversation went there. Tyler, of course, always wants to talk a little footy. If you guys are familiar with the podcast, you'll know what I'm talking about. Eric, Four Leaf Cards, and Scott Reindeer Studios. Great guys. They, of course, are great artists. They did a great job on Hobby Palooza, doing some art on the spot there. Great to chat it up with them. Bill, the Hall of Fame collector, got to talk to him quite a bit. I know he picked up some just absolutely amazing 90s cards that I got to see. He went out to dinner with us one night. Just always great conversation with him. He's just a very intelligent and engaging guy. He always has something good to add to the conversations. Showed off some of his incredible like cut autos and stuff when we were out to dinner. I mean, that just had people's jaws dropping, to be quite honest. Eloy the Goat, Ron Fig, Victor, the rookie card specialist. Got to see those guys. Chatted up with them a bit. All good dudes. Mark Fu 312. Didn't make quite as big of a splash as far as purchases at this show, but he did pick up a really amazing card. I like to give Mark a hard time when we're sitting around talking. Like he would be telling somebody something, and I would stop him and be like, guys, you can't listen to this guy. This is the guy that, thought it was a good idea to pick up the Jordan and Mantle a couple years ago. So he obviously doesn't know what he's talking about. But he's a super cool dude, really laid back, very intelligent. It's always fun conversation. Dead Guy Cardboard, got to talk to him. Ryan, Hot Corner Collectibles, he got me a cool thing here I'll show you in a minute. Jeremy Lee from Sports Card Live. So first off, he's a giant man. He's like 6'6". Just a great dude. Like I was really, I mean, like I had communicated with him just a little bit, like through watching Sports Card Live. And, he was a part of Hobby Palooza. But this was obviously the first time I had met him in person, and I mean, he was really impressive. Just a really impressive guy. Like he's been collecting for a long time, and he's one of those guys. Like he's just very outgoing, engaging. Like anytime somebody he knows walks by, he calls them over and wants to talk with them. I mean, it's great. And if you guys haven't watched Sports Card Live, definitely check it out. Dustin, the personal finance dad. Um, I had seen him at one of the Dallas shows, but I didn't get a chance to meet him there. It's the first time I met him. He was there with his wife. Um, just just great people, man. Like um, they were able to come to some of the after hours things and hang out and had a great time talking with them. Just about a lot of different things and just a lot of fun, man. I don't know if you guys can tell by now, but I had a really fun time at this show. Mike, this baseball card live, got to talk to him a little bit. Chuck, Northside guy, and Dawn's Field of Dreams. I pair those guys together as far as this conversation goes because to me, the Hobby Palooza episode that they did on Diamond Yard Sports Cards channel, that was my favorite, I think, out of all of the Hobby Palooza content. Just the passion for collecting and the passion for the cards themselves and the story and the history that goes along with it, that just really just came through the screen for me in that episode that they did. So it was great to get to talk to those guys a little bit. I didn't really get to talk to them as much as I would have liked, as is the case with almost everyone. So next time I definitely want to be able to chat it up with those guys a little bit more and just kind of like get inside their head a little bit as far as like their thoughts and stuff with a lot of the vintage that they collect, because that's interesting. I know a lot of people see my channel and they probably wouldn't think that I would be interested in that kind of stuff, but I love, especially baseball history, it's the best as far as any of the sports go, in my opinion. And the next guy is another guy that I did get to speak with a little bit more, and it's the same type of stuff, and that's Rick, Vintage Oddball Cards. Yeah, he's just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to vintage baseball cards, the sport itself, memorabilia. He knows a lot about a lot of different things when it comes to baseball. So that was fun. Another couple of guys, I had met these guys before. I don't think they don't do YouTube, but Dustin and Kirk, they're good friends with Eric, those back pages, and man, just a couple of great guys. Like I've barely met these guys. Like I've met these guys before, but we barely knew each other. But we just walk up to each other and just start talking like we've known each other for years. And I guess like just having Eric is kind of that bridge, I guess, between those guys and myself. I guess somehow we like have became friends through osmosis over the years because it just felt like we had known each other forever. John, Wade Boggs fan, another great dude. I think he gave me he gave me a custom that I'll show off here in a few. Let's see, Big Scott, another great guy. Like I did get to talk to him quite a bit, and just a super positive dude. I really just, I mean, he just always had good things to say, like about whatever somebody else had picked up or just people in general. And he made some big pickups himself. So check out his stuff. Max Power on Instagram, got to talk with him a little bit. Jake from 90s B-Ball Cards, he has a great channel where he does a lot of interviews and stuff, but his channel really kind of started off as he'll open 90s basketball packs and kind of really go in depth as far as talking about the the insert ratios and what the best cards to pull out of each particular product are and stuff like that. He was a fun guy to talk to. Let me quickly go down the list here of people that didn't make the show. At least as far as I know, I didn't see them, so I think most of these people did not make the show. But these are people I would like to definitely see next year in AC. George, Diamond Yard Sports Cards. Jeff, who's Bowman 53. Natsman 72 from the hashtag Dirty South. John Mangini, Ray from Philly, Bob Lewis, Abel in Vegas, Jason, Mr. Fisher Bike, Bart, the PSA card guy, Nate's Tops 85401 here, Dane, Card Tech 710, Snoop 12922, Josh, who's Jay Stottlemyre, Alex, who's Bowman 53, Lou Rock TV, Gary, Bink Scott, Andy, Nostalgic About Baseball, Mark from Kentucky, Joey, Don't Call My Wax Junk, Sean, Stealing Second, Jesse, Think Blue 77, Lou, who's Capetta Cards and Comics, Jeff, Packgeek, Jeff Airtime, Tony, Psyched on Baseball Cards, Eric, who's Oakland A's 915, Max, who's Max Jackson, Ray, who's I Collect Ichiro, and John, UNC Collector, and Aaron Davis. And I'm sure I left out people that not only I did meet at this show or talk to, but also people that I would like to see in future videos. I do apologize because I probably rolled off 100 or so names, and I'm sure I missed some, but trust me, if I met you and we talked, I had a good time because I did not have any conversations that I wouldn't deem as positive. So that's kind of what happened at the show as far as that stuff goes. I'll talk briefly about the couple of purchases that I didn't make. The kind of, I guess you'd call them the ones that got away to an extent. One of them was a Russell Westbrook National Treasures Logo Man 1/1 auto. I talked to the guy about it, and we kind of had a ballpark figure in mind. And the next day just happened to be the day after he got traded to the Lakers. And so I go back and without getting too into it, the ballpark figure that we had discussed the previous day was no longer valid, I guess we'll say. And I kind of had a feeling, from the get-go, that this deal probably wasn't going to happen, because even the first time that I talked to him about it, he kind of struck me as he didn't really want to sell this card. So I even told a few guys that I was with, I think I could go up and offer him exactly what he's asking on the high side, and he still might say no. So that deal didn't happen, and it's okay. It's one of those things, like, you always hear about the deals that happen and how they went down, and I guess I'll be able to tell the other side of the story here a bit, as far as like a couple of deals that didn't necessarily happen. The second deal literally was pretty close to happening about 30 minutes before Mike and I were going to have to leave and go to the airport. So this was like literally a last second type of situation. And so we were in discussion on this card. It was an 84 star Michael Jordan 101. It was a BGS 7.5. It was pretty well centered for that particular card. And the problem we ran into on this card was this card was co-owned by two different guys. So I was working on a deal with one guy, and we had something that we thought might work in place, and then he had to go talk to the co-owner of the card, and just not something that he wanted to do at that time. It was going to be like a cash trade type thing. And so it didn't work out, but it was it was a lot of fun. Like it's fun to try to negotiate these deals and try to get them to work, but they sometimes they just don't work out, and that's okay. There's always other deals. Like I definitely didn't leave this show disappointed that I didn't pick up anything. I think I would have been more disappointed if I would have bought something that I really didn't want to have. So I'll just continue going after the things that I truly want to add, and not worry about the deals that don't happen, because it's nobody's fault. Like sometimes the deal just doesn't work. So that's all on that. So I'll flip the camera around and I'll show you a couple of cool things, and we'll call it good. Thanks for sticking around so far. All right, guys. So this was given to me by Ryan, Hot Corner Collectibles. It's a really cool uncut sheet. It looks like it's out of the Chicago Tribune from the 2008 Cubs and White Sox. He knows I'm a Cubs fan. Obviously, I was very disappointed that during the National, the Cubs decided to trade their entire team. But, I guess it is what it is, right? I guess I've just had a bad run of that lately between the Thunder and the Cubs. Like, our team's just blowing up. So that's neat. So I appreciate that, Ryan. Next up, let's start off with some customs here. This was given to me by Jeremy, IPTTM. This is his son, Jathan. Just a great, I guess this is like the action variation, autoed. That's awesome, man. It looks like he has a great combination of on-base skills, as well as he is a killer on the base paths. And it looks like he's a good outfielder too. 5 assists, that's pretty good. Maybe he can come play for the Cubs. Next, Dustin and Blake. Beautiful custom there with the signatures. Awesome. Appreciate that, guys. Looking forward to seeing you guys again. Next up, John, Wade Boggs fan. Beautiful signature on this one, number 13 out of 40. So this one's quite rare. Love it. Got to meet John and his wife. I definitely enjoyed. I don't know if you guys saw this, but I think it was on Bench Clear like a couple of months back, whenever they had some of the wives of some card collectors on there. I think John's wife was on there. Brandon from Brandon's baseball card, his wife was on there, and then Julie, of course, Mike's wife. I think that was there may have been one other, but it was cool to meet her, because I remember seeing her on there, and I told her I enjoyed listening to that. That was great. This is a ridiculously cool custom right here. We've got Mike O. Look at that signature, man. Just a beautiful signature on that. And then the man, Eddie Money, Ed Weskergriff, by the grade, not the card inscription. Love it, Ed. That's great, guys. I appreciate that. I love those. These are a couple of cards that eBay gave away. This was part of their promotion. You could go up there and get a $10 gift card, and they would give you one of these, done by DJ Ski. I think this one is like, let's see. Feel Like I'm a Monster. And then on this one is Feel Like Mike, which is just spectacular. Love that. So I got those two. This is one that I was extremely excited about. So JT asked a couple of us to come up with a custom card idea that he was going to use in a giveaway at the National. It was like a promotion that he was doing where you could get, I think 20% off his store. Check with JT to make sure those numbers are right. But I decided, like, hey, I was like, I always come up with these wild ideas and then I hope that JT can pull it off. But he absolutely did. I was like, JT, I think it would be cool if you did like the Andrew McCutchen, the short print card, but you make it Ronald Acuna. So this is what he came up with. This is just spectacular. Yeah, that is neat. Blank back. That's just, and I think the other one, like there's only 2 of this card made. The other one was given to Luke from Up North Collectors. So that's great. I did have one card graded at the show, which was this, which I think looks really cool. This 2013 Topps UFC Bloodlines Amanda Nunes flag parallel. I just thought it went really well with the green background here and the CSG flip. A lot of people don't like this flip, and I can see why on certain cards that it was not be very appealing, but I think with this green and green, and then also the subgrades, I think without the subgrades, there's just too much blank space there. And the label's still probably a little bit too big for my taste, but very pleased with this. These are tough cards to grade, so, and CSG is no slouch, I think, with grading. This one's numbered to 188. Great card, love it. And then the last card, which is, I mentioned earlier, Dave Blue Jacket 66. So we're at the show. We're walking around, or I'm walking around, and he texted me. He's like, hey, where are you? And I told him where I was at. He's like, hey, Caden and I are over here. I think they were by Probstein. He's like, we're over here by Probstein. Come meet us over here. I'm like, okay, let's do it. I'll do it. So I get over there, and he looks at me. He's like, Andy, I have something for you. I'm like, okay, awesome. And this is certainly not what I expected. And like I said earlier, I shouldn't be surprised because it's just the kind of guy that Dave is. And I mean, once again, Dave, this was totally unnecessary, but man, I really appreciate it. It means a lot. So I'll show you guys the card and it's ridiculous. So he got me this beautiful 1970 Topps Pete Maravich rookie, PSA 4, and this thing is a stunner. I mean, the centering is just beautiful, which I can't say I'm surprised because Dave has just great taste when it comes to picking out cards. Not only the card and the player, but the condition itself. This card is graded a 4. It doesn't look like a 4. Spectacular. Can't thank you enough, Dave. These are the kind of things, man, like people doing stuff like this, like just totally unnecessary, totally out of the blue, but totally appreciated. And this is the kind of stuff that you see at these shows, man. So if you guys made it this far, God bless you. I know I talked a lot, even had some voice problems probably halfway through. I feel like I'm losing my voice. I probably need to be quiet for a couple of days. But I really appreciate everyone that I met and interacted with at this show. You guys made this show just spectacular for me. Like I said in the beginning, I was a little bit worried that could we recreate the same magic that this community had in 2019, and you guys showed that we absolutely can. Can't thank you enough. Can't wait to do it next year. Take care, guys.